I'm so glad you're here to listen to the episode today with my guest, Maci Chance. Maci Chance is not only a divorce specialized realtor who has years of experience helping women through divorce find their ideal home, but she also is kind of a miraculous woman. She tells her story. She shares her own divorce story, and you learn so much about her. She's very transparent and very open, and I just had so much fun talking to her. So stay tuned and listen to this episode. Hi, beautiful. I am so glad you're here with me today. I have a top-notch guest for you. Her name is Maci Chance, and she is a realtor with extensive experience in divorce, and she's in the Denver, Colorado area. She's going to talk with me today about something not necessarily related to real estate, but she's going to be talking about finding our purpose after divorce. So, hi, Maci. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Beverly. How are you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so tickled to have you. Maci is just one of those kinds of women that you love doing business with and you love meeting. So,
thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background so my audience can get a feel for kind of where you've come from?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I live in the Denver metro area. I was divorced about 9 years ago, and I had been working part-time while my ex-husband, now ex-husband, traveled extensively for his job. And so when we got divorced, I had to go back to work full time and started working in small businesses and was introduced to a gentleman who owned a real estate company. And from that moment on, I absolutely fell in love with real estate and learned everything about it. I got my license. I became a broker. And then on the personal side, we sold our marital home and I purchased a home right after that, which was, the first major purchase I had ever made by myself, because, I'd been with my ex-husband since I was 21 years old, and it was scary and exciting and empowering and fearful and all of the emotions wrapped into one. And after really thinking about it, I, a few years later, decided to focus solely on working in real estate and working with women who were where I was 9 years ago. You find out you're getting a divorce, you don't know where to turn, you don't know
exactly.
You don't know how to do it. You're scared, and so I've developed a business where I have not only the real estate resources but also the professional resources, someone like you, like divorce coaches that can help people through their divorce process and make it a little bit easier.
Oh, that's such a great thing to offer. I think that when I think back to my biggest purchases that really changed my life and changed how I felt, of course, that purchasing the home on my own was the biggie. And I remember walking into the realtor's office, not believing that I could afford a home, but not even having talked to a bank or anything. And so when he asked me, what I earned and that kind of thing, he said, of course you can buy something. And it took me so aback that I couldn't believe it. So I was thrilled and excited when I was able to get that first home as you were as well.
Absolutely. And when, I had small kids at the time, and, the first question most people ask is, where am I going to live when they find out I'm getting, you're getting a divorce? So here I am, wide-eyed, just like, what am I even going to do? And it's a funny story how I found my house. My ex-husband and I, we used a mediator. And we had sat down at the table and decided, all right, we're done here. Let's sign all the papers. Well, at the last minute, my ex-husband decided he wanted to take it to an attorney. And anyway, it dragged on a little bit longer. But when I finally got the papers from him, he handed them to me at my daughter's softball game. We were driving. I know. It was like
So
not the best
tacky.
experience, but I know, for real. But so my daughter and I was driving her. We were living with my parents at the time because we had already sold our marital home, and I moved in with my parents because things weren't finalized. I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going. So I'm driving home. My daughter's in the back. She's like, "Mom, I have to go to the bathroom." I'm like, and I'm like, all right, we'll get home as quickly as we can. I drive by and I see a sign for an open house, and something about it, I was like, I have to go see this house. You're going to have to wait.
There's a bathroom there.
Exactly. So we go to the house. I pull up, and it was just this has to be our home. It was walking distance to the same school that my kids had already gone to. It was a little bit smaller. It was more affordable, it was affordable for me. And it just was like the universe opened up for me when my ex-husband handed me these papers. It was finally final. And that literally an hour later found my house. And, it was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting.
I guess so. What was it? Just to step back for a moment, when you said you got involved with real estate, you said you fell in love. What was it that you fell in love with? Hi, everyone. As parents, we often have gut feelings when something just isn't right. And this can be especially true in co-parenting arrangements where one parent is struggling with addiction. If you're co-parenting with an ex who abuses alcohol, SoberLink can help. SoberLink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. The system's real-time alerts, facial recognition, and tamper detection ensure the integrity of each test, so you can be confident your kids are with a sober parent. With SoberLink, judges rest assured that your child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety, and your kids are able to maintain healthy relationships with both parents. To sign up, SoberLink's offering $50 off your device for our listeners. Visit www.soberlink.com/empowered, and that will be in the show notes as well.
Well, I really fell in love with the taking something ugly and turning it into something beautiful.
Oh.
And, the company I worked with, the gentleman I worked for, we did fix and flips. And I found it very easy to do. I was kind of managing some of the projects more on the back end than the front end, but watching these homes transform and really learning the accessibility of real estate. It feels very out of touch for a lot of people. It feels like, it's very complicated and all of that. And so I learned that it really wasn't that complicated. And so I loved the process of it. I loved helping people find their homes. I loved, everything that went into the fixing up of the homes. All of that. So I just fell in love with the opportunity, really.
That's great. So now that you've realized kind of your life's purpose and it's brought you success, both personally and professionally, how has that all come together for you?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because that's like fast forwarding, to the passion meets the purpose to everything, right? There's a lot that happened in the middle of that. And really what it was a personal journey, a journey of self-reflection, a journey of a lot of therapy, a lot of working with a lot of,
I can relate.
doing a lot of, doing a lot of personal development. And really what it was when I found out I was getting a divorce, very shortly after that, I realized that I deserved better and that I was on a journey to figure out.
So glad to hear you say that. So glad.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't say that. Yeah.
No. And it really was, it took me about a week. I was probably quicker than a lot of people, where from the moment my ex-husband said he wanted a divorce, about a week later, I had a friend say to me, because I was in, fear mode. I was probably having a nervous breakdown. I was just so scared. And I had a friend say to me, "You deserve better." And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "I do?" And then it was like, "I do." And from
Yeah.
then on, I made the commitment to myself to go on this journey to really understand how do I become the best version of myself. I
Mm-hmm.
knew she was in there somewhere. I knew she had gotten lost. My self-esteem was, negative. And so I
Right.
really was like, I got to figure out who I am and, how did I contribute to the breakdown of our marriage? What was mine and what wasn't mine, to take responsibility for, and really understanding, who am I as a person and what makes me happy. And
You
so
you
that
divorce coached yourself.
well, I had a lot of great friends and people, like I said, a lot of therapists. I did, a couple different types of coaching programs, and these were all things that I sought out because I didn't know they existed. Beverly, I didn't
Right.
know somebody like you existed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why I do what I do, because what you have to offer the world, what you have to offer women that are just like deer in the headlights, it's life changing. And it's such an important thing to give to women.
Oh, thank you so much, and yours as well. When I think of um, purchasing that first home versus purchasing a home in the midst of the emotions of a divorce, I see those as two dramatically different things, and yet they have some similarities. I mean, certainly there's fear and
Yep.
there's financial fear and all of those things, but what you went through emotionally with children and divorce is a tremendous amount of pressure to add on to making a move like that. When you think about, they publish what are the biggest stressors in life, and a divorce is number two, second only to losing a child. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have a move, which is another
Right.
biggie. So you kind of went through the ringer there.
Yeah, and that's what I say to a lot of people. Like, I work with divorcing clients and non-divorcing clients, and the details of the transaction are the same, and sometimes the fears are there, and you're making a big move, it's a big financial purchase or a sale, but then you add to it the layer of doing it on your own in the midst
Mm-hmm.
of chaos. I say my life was like it was on a game board, and somebody came along and pulled up the game board, threw it up, all the pieces flew everywhere, and you're just floating around trying to figure out where you're going to land. And
Yep.
then, it's even a brand new game board, it's brand new pieces. It's, your
Yep.
whole life has just totally changed. And so when I'm working with my divorcing clients, they know I've been through that. And so I can empathize and I can help guide them through this really scary process.
Absolutely. When you were talking about the game board, it's funny you should say that, because I always thought mine was, when the person goes to take the tablecloth off the restaurant table and leave
Mm-hmm.
everything on the table. But when I went to do it, everything came off
Yeah.
the table and
Yeah.
fell on the floor. So
Yeah.
that I can really relate to the game board story. So, what is really, there are lots of real estate agents, but
Mm-hmm.
what's really unique about your approach?
So I think what's really unique about my approach is, first of all, like I said, the fact that I've been through it. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a process where I will sit down and we will really come up with what is your ideal situation. If you can wave a magic wand, what would be the perfect scenario for you? And that's a
Okay.
little bit tricky
Yeah.
because we have in our mind what we think we want. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it takes somebody else, like your realtor or a good friend or somebody, to say, wonder what else is possible. I wonder what else might be possible for you. So it's really understanding my approach is really to try to understand what are the things that they have to have. And some of it is even, I have to live right near my kid's school. Well, sometimes that might not be possible. So let's be creative and figure out, what are some other options for you. So really It's about helping them and guiding them to really think, taking my market knowledge and really think about what else is possible. And then sitting down with, working with a lending professional that's very skilled with divorce and working as a team, and sometimes working with their attorney or their mediator to really making sure that that they understand what all of their options are and what makes sense for them.
So many times when a woman divorces, she comes out less financially strong or financially weaker than when she was married. And she goes to buy a house, but what about those women that didn't work and they have to qualify in terms of having income? How can they buy a house?
Many people feel divorce is a death sentence, but with the right support and guidance, you can move through the process with knowledge, skills, and confidence. It can also be a time of growth and progress. As a divorce and empowerment coach, I'm an invaluable member of your divorce team. I help you understand and navigate the process, come to terms with your emotions, avoid costly mistakes, learn skills to help you communicate and negotiate, find your true voice, and create an empowered life post-divorce. If you're interested in learning more, schedule a free consultation at herempowereddivorce.com.
So there's a lot of, this is why it's really important to work with a lending professional that's very, very aware of how to help structure these settlements. Because in all likelihood, if they haven't been working, they are going to receive some type of alimony or maintenance, they call it here in Colorado. And it's knowing how to structure that so that they can qualify for as much as possible that they can afford. That's the other piece of it, is making sure they're not going to be strapped or stressed. I have a lot of women, overextended. I have a lot of women that I talk to that they're like, I have to stay in this house. I have to stay here. I need my kids to stay here, which
I get that
of course and of course I understand that. And sometimes it's not the best financial decision. And what I tell women is, you need to be grounded and supportive of your kids and available to your kids. And if you are, and to yourself, most importantly, and if you are stressed about money, then maybe staying in the house isn't the right decision.
Exactly.
It's really about understanding the facts and the information that you're getting so that you can try to make a decision that isn't emotional, but is really based on more factual information.
Yes, one of the things that I work with clients on is to not let their emotions hijack their thinking through a divorce and to approach it almost as a business decision. And the more that they can do that, the more their head is clearer to make good decisions. I've run into the same thing that you have about people wanting to keep the marital home, but what they may not have considered is that marital home is full of old memories, and those memories may not be good memories. And so another way to look at it is you have the opportunity to create something brand new just the way you want it to be without somebody telling you what it needs to look like.
Exactly. And for me, I knew that I had that same exact feeling about my marital home. I knew I did not want to stay in that home. I knew that I needed a fresh start, that my kids needed a fresh start. I mean, even my mom was like, isn't there any way you can stay in the home? I'm like, I probably could, but I don't want to.
Yes.
You know, I wanted something. I wanted to get rid of those yucky memories. I wanted to move into a new space. So sometimes that is, you know, that's the harder decision to make for sure. But I love that. And I wish I would have had a pocket you when I was going through my divorce. We all need a pocket Beverly because, you know, to have you just like in our pocket when we start to get a little like emotional, because who doesn't get emotional? I mean, it's like the most emotional time.
It's an emotional process. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And I almost think that anybody that says they don't is not telling the truth, because it is one of the most emotional times you can go through.
Yeah.
You've managed so much in your life and you've gone through a lot of turbulence. What do you do to manage all of that change and turbulence?
Remember when I talked about therapy before?
Right.
that's one of my I always talk about it. I think having a therapist who's a neutral person to talk to, that can help you through some of those, you know, turbulent / traumatic events is super important. You know, and I have a really, really great group of friends. I mean, even 9 years later, there's still little things that come up where, you know, I need to, about my divorce, that I need to bounce it off of so I have a good group of friends, that support me. I have a wonderful, you know, group of women business owners that are very, you know, authentic and real. And, you know, we know we're whole people that have our own challenges. So, for me, it's really about the support system, you know, which ironically is what I tell everybody when they're going through divorce. Like you have to have a team. You need to have a team. You need to have that support system, because it's, you know, it's a lonely process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things I like to ask all my guests is to share 3 tips that they have that they would offer to other women go through the journey. And you just hit on one really important one, the support system. Do you have any other tips that you would suggest to women going through divorce?
Yeah, I think the other things that I would say, I mean, support system is my number one for sure. So that one, not to belabor that point, but it really is so important. I think there's a lot of us that feel like we can do it on our own, and we can and we have to a certain extent, but it's just makes it a whole lot better when you have a team of people around you that really care about you. You know, and the other thing I alluded to as well is, you know, I made a commitment to wake up to my life. And
I love that. I love the saying.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I had been asleep for so long that I didn't even know how I had gotten to where we had gotten to in my marriage, and how did I allow some of those things to happen, and where were my boundaries, and where was my voice. And so going on that journey to really understand, you know, who you are and how did you contribute to where you got to. I think that's a really, really important thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I think, you know, when it comes to, especially because I, you know, have my own kids, I went through this with kids, you know, it's really important that you take really, really good care of yourself, which goes to point number 2, but really take care of yourself so that you can be present for your kids. And, you know, I don't think I did that as good as I could have. You know, it was a very stressful time. I believe I was in survival mode for a lot of the transition. And so, you know, if I had to do it over again, I would say, you know, really paying attention to getting myself grounded. And, you know, I think I did the best I could, I'll say that. But, you know, and getting yourself grounded so that you can be available to your kids.
Yeah, I think looking back, we all did absolutely the best that we could do at the moment. You know, hindsight's always 20/20, but
of course.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah.
Maci, this has been so interesting, and I really love your style and way with words. I love that wake up to my life. I think that's what I want to call this episode, Wake Up to My Life. So how can our listeners find you and find out more about you?
Thank you. My website is macichance.com. And you can find me at Maci Chance Realtor on Instagram is where I'm, for the most part, pretty active, somewhat on Facebook. Same thing, Maci Chance Realtor. And then LinkedIn is Maci Chance.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being my guest today. This has not only been interesting, but a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Beverly, and thank you for what you are doing in the world and for sharing all of these great stories on your podcast.
Oh, thank you. And to everyone out there, all of Maci's information will be available in the show notes along with mine, and you can find them at www.herempowereddivorce.com on the podcast page or on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch the video version of the channel on YouTube at Her Empowered Divorce. Please remember you can find more podcast episodes, and we'd like you to listen, subscribe, and leave us a review. We'd love for you to share our story with your friends so we can reach out and help as many women as possible. Thank you so much for being with Maci and I today. We hope you have a beautiful day. Wake up to your life and stay empowered. Thank you for listening to the Her Empowered Divorce podcast. Remember, divorce doesn't have to be a death sentence. With the right support and guidance, you can move through the process with knowledge, skills, and confidence. And it can also be a time of growth and empowerment. A divorce and empowerment coach is an invaluable member of your divorce team. I help you understand and navigate the process, come to terms with your emotions, avoid costly mistakes, find your true voice, and create an empowered life post-divorce. If you're interested in learning more, schedule a free consultation at herempowereddivorce.com. And be sure to check out my other episodes of Her Empowered Divorce podcast and resources on my website or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. This will help me reach out to more women in the same space so you are not so alone. I appreciate your support. Until next time, take care and stay empowered.